All right, you guys. So today we're going to be talking about several things. Something that we're going to go ahead and get into right now is we talked. I'm going to touch briefly on this just because I want to make sure that you guys are completely ready when you are setting up your songs for your mix. So as you guys know, you're going to be creating a mix by the end of your the big final is to have a demo mix that you can share with the world, right? That's it. So I want you guys to be as ready as possible with your music because this one of the things that we're going to be doing in this mix is ensuring that you can fit 100 songs into 1 hour. Okay. Now the reason for that is because something that's very important in creating a mix is the idea that you can DJ, that you can mix quickly. Okay, that's very important when you're creating a demo mix because nobody wants to listen. If you're creating a demo mix and you're showcasing your talent, you're showcasing that you can get creative and that you can DJ and mix quickly. No promoter, no person who's going to hire a DJ wants to hear a song for its entirety. That's fair, right? Like that's completely fair. So the promoter or whoever's going to be listening to your mix to book you or to just be interested in you as a DJ, they're going to want as many songs compacted into a short amount of time in your mix. Okay. So now the way to do this, Brandon touched on this last week, actually 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
Is to have your music ready. Okay. So one of the main things to have your music ready is to have your cue points ready. So if you can look at my screen right now, I'm going to go ahead and go into the hip hop. Emix for me is like, those are my crates where I have the music, the top music for that genre. So in this scenario, hip hop, Emix hip hop is my crate where it's like, okay, all the bangers are in here. Okay. And as you can see, I have them colored. You can see on the left hand side here, I have them colored. Red for me is a banger. Orange is it can still pop, but it's not as good as a banger. And then blue here is chill. So like, we're going to kick back. Anything that's blue on my side, that's like chill music. And like Brandon said, you could arrange that however you want. Like this is just my way of arranging music, so it makes sense to me, like that what I would play and what I wouldn't play at certain events. Okay. And as you can see as well, most of my tracks, I have both the clean and the dirty version. As you guys know, going to gigs, going to parties, there's going to be places where you can play clean music, and there's going to be places where you can play dirty music. You wouldn't play clean tracks at a club. Unfortunately, that's just how it goes. If you play the clean track, you're going to be killing the vibe of the club. But obviously, if you're at a 3-year-old birthday party and you're playing a song with all the dirty lyrics, you're going to be looked at. I promise you, you will be looked at. Okay, so that's why I have both the clean and the dirty version. And as you can see, a lot of my songs, I do have the intro version because it just helps you DJ faster. It helps you DJ better. So now I'm going to go ahead and load one of the songs here into Serato. And as you can see, I automatically already have 3 cues set up that are going to help me mix in the song like as accurately as possible. Okay, so if you look at the beats, these are broken down into 8-beat counts. So I'm gonna go ahead and play it. And if you think about the chorus of any song, there's 16 beats. Okay, So the chorus has 16 beats. I have them broken down into 8 beats. So that what that is going to help me do is if I miss the first 8 count beat, I have the second count beat to realign it. Okay, so and the other thing is, as you will see now, it aligns perfectly with the chorus where, here you go, the blue cue. You get the bag and fumble it, I get the blue cue starts at the 1. I don't know if you've ever heard this in DJ world by doing your research, by learning on your own, but they always recommend that you start your song at the 1. When you're mixing in to the next song, start at the 1. That's the first beat of the verse. Okay? So if you look at the blue cue, and I'm gonna hit play, you get the bag and fumble it, I get the you hear the verse immediately. Okay? So once again, I have it broken down into 8 beats. And then I have, the second one, the second cue, the orange cue right there is where I would typically start messing with my EQs. Okay. Remember that Brandon said that at some point you need to start lowering your bass and start lowering your mid. I typically do that at this point of the song, because then after that, when you get to the 1, if you've already lowered your EQs, then when you get to the 1, the next song, you get the bag and fumble. The next song is already on full EQ, and it sounds flawless. Like, you cannot mess this up if you have your Q set up, and if you have your EQ, if you work with your EQ to get the right mix into the next song. Okay.
So like at the first one, at the red one, and you're gonna mix the song. Your bass line should be off, and then your mid should be like half.
Yes.
And then you drop it, and then you get into the middle of the next one. So bringing the bass down on that one, and bringing in the bass down.
Exactly. So for example, I'll go ahead and do a demonstration. Okay. So as you can see here, I'm gonna play both songs at the same time. Okay, and then you can see here that there's a low, a mid, and a high, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna bring, let's say I'm mixing in, I get the bag into both, right? Since both right now technically would be playing, this I'm bringing in, I get the bag, both is playing right now, right? I would bring down the low and the mid right there, exactly right there on the second cue. You get the bag and fumble it, I get the bag and flip it and tumble it. Y'all heard that? So basically that, once again, bringing down your low and your mid allows you to have a clean sound of as you're mixing in. Okay. Now, the other thing I wanted to touch on, which we didn't get to touch on 2 weeks ago with Brandon, is how to set up your cues. Okay, so because a lot of these songs have the intro, it makes it easier because when the remixers, whatever DJ pool that you're getting your music from, when they add the intro to the songs, they give you the 8 count. I think it's like 4 different times before the song gets started. Okay, so I'm gonna look for a song here that I have not added my cues to. That way we can go ahead and set up the cues on that song. If I have one, let's see. Okay, so here you go. You can see no commas. I don't have my cue set up. One very important thing that I'm going to ask you guys to enable on Serato is if you go to your setup, if you see here it says show beat jump controls, make sure you have that enabled, okay? Because that's going to make your life so much easier when you are setting up your cue points, okay? What does that do? It gives you this option right here. It enables this option here, which allows you to beat jump, okay? So if you wanted to jump one beat, there, I enabled one beat jump. Then I'm going to click on next, and it's going to, as you can see, it's going to jump one beat, okay? If I wanted to jump 2 beats, I'm going to enable that one, click on it, now it jumped 2 beats, okay? I typically jump 8 beats because that's the amount, like that's typically the count of, you know, how they make music. You know, it's made by 8 beats. So I have it set up to jump by 8 beats because I always want to get to the 1 of where the verse starts, okay? So since the remixers usually make this, they align it to be like 16 beats apart. If I jump 8 beats 4 times, it should get me to the 1 of where the verse starts, okay? So let's go ahead and try that. There you go, 4 times. There is the 1, and I'm gonna go ahead and cue that by pressing 3, okay? Then I'm gonna go back 1 time. So I'm going back 8 beats. I'm gonna press 2 to set up the second cue. And I'm gonna cancel my my initial cue, the red one here, that was set up by the remixers at whatever DJ pool you have. I'm gonna go ahead and delete that, then jump back 8 beats again, and set up my first cue. Okay, so there you go. My three cues are set up, and let's go ahead and try it, and let's see if it goes into the first count of the verse. All right, here we go. You gotta be bobbing your head. There it is. Did you guys hear that? Yeah. So right on the 1 of the verse, it goes straight into it, and you can imagine as you're mixing live, once again, this will make your life so much easier. Okay, so I really wanted to touch on that. I'm gonna go ahead and just do a quick recap. So on your settings, you're gonna go ahead and make sure that you have your show beat jump controls activated, because if you remove that, close your settings, here it is, it's gone, okay? It takes it off. Now, if you activate it, show beat jump controls, there it is again, okay? Another step that is really going to make your life way easier is if you go to your settings, there's 2 things you're going to do. So you're going to enable here instant doubles, and then you're going to enable play from first cue point. Okay, what that does is if for whatever reason you're like scratching or you just want to get really creative with your music, if you load the same song on your second deck, it will load it exactly where you are playing it on the next deck, okay? So that gives you the ability to, you know, do some really cool effects. If you're gonna beat juggle, you know, that it allows you to do that. If you want to, you know, just different effects that you want to, you know, get creative with, it will load the same song on the exact spot where you're playing on the other side. Okay. The other thing is in making sure that you have play from first cue point. If you have that activated, when you load the song, so for example, I'm going to go ahead and eject these songs here, and I'm going to load no commas again. We had just done the, we set up our cue points, right? I'm gonna go ahead and load it on the left track, on the left deck here. And as you can see, it loads exactly on my first key. What does that do is when I'm playing live, I'm already set up on the first part where I'm gonna start mixing in the song. Okay, which makes it so much easier. And I don't have to look for that first cue. I don't have to press a button. I don't have to, I don't have to do anything other than start mixing. Other than grab my headphones, make sure it's fitting into the other song, and start mixing. So it just makes it so much easier to mix. Okay.
What do you mean about turning off the effects underneath the play from first key?
Play from first key point. Okay, let me.
Settings.
Play from first key point. Turn off effects. Okay, that Serato has internal effects. So, for example, you could see here, right here, this FX right here. You could use that with Serato on the computer, but you could turn them off because a lot of the mixers already come with effects. So you don't want to use the computer effects. You want to use your mixer's effects. So that's why that is there. Another very important thing. Now this is a DJ preference, and I'm gonna leave this one up to you guys. Is sync mode here? Okay. I personally have sync off. There is a big controversy whether or not DJs should use sync mode. The reason being is basically, like, let's say I have no commas here. It's loaded, and then I have, let's say, Godzilla here. It's loaded as well. Okay, what sync mode will do is it will sync my beats for me. It'll read the BPMs, and it will automatically sync the beats, basically doing half of the work for you as a DJ. Here's the controversy. The controversy is, for a lot of DJs, a lot of old school DJs, beat matching is like one of the main things that you learn as a DJ, and you do it manually. And you're mixing that in manually, which it gives you the flavor of the music as you're doing it. Okay, so a lot of old school DJs say, like, that's not DJing if you have a computer do it for you, because then you're literally just standing there letting the computer DJ for you. You're just selecting music. So a lot of old school DJs say, well, at that point, you're a jukebox. You're literally just selecting music. What is the point of you DJing if you're going to let the computer do all of the work for you? Okay? A lot of the new school DJs, and this is where the controversy gets started, a lot of new school DJs believe that with sync mode on, it allows you to get way more creative with what you do with the music. Okay, so if you have sync mode on and the computer is beat matching for you, now you have way more time to really get into the nitty-gritty of the song, select parts of the song to create live remixes on your live sets. So, there's a lot of going back and forth with that controversy, because there are some top DJs, really top DJs, who are famous that use sync mode, and there's just as many really famous DJs that don't use sync mode for that same reason. So it's really on you and how you perceive it. Me personally, I don't like sync mode because I just like the idea of manipulating the music myself. Like that's just, you know, like I really,
Like if you do it, I mean, I don't feel like you're the one that's.
yeah, I feel like I'm the one that's DJing, and I get to you know, I get to be creative how I want to be creative, even with beat matching. So, but once again, it's a very personal thing. I have nothing against DJs who use sync mode. You know, the tools are there. You know, these tools were not there in the past. These tools did not exist. Like in the 70s. In the 70s, you literally, I mean, you didn't even have computers, you know, for DJing. You literally had to do everything by ear. So now, if you have the tools, I think if you want to use them, go ahead. If you don't, that's fine too. You know, there's always going to be controversy. You know, there's a lot of people who don't even like laptops. They're like, oh, you're not a real DJ if you are DJing from a laptop. You need to have your records, and you need to DJ directly from your records. So if you're not DJing from your records, you're not a real DJ because you have a laptop. You know, you can't please everyone. Kind of annoying. Just do you, have fun, enjoy the music, enjoy what you're doing, and that's really all that matters. The same controversy applies with turntables and controllers.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people hate controllers because it's not turntables. I could DJ on a controller and I could DJ on turntables, and I'll have fun with either or. You know, like that's who I am as a DJ.
Like make the controllers that are like and CDJ.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, it's the tools are there. You do what makes you feel comfortable. You do what makes you happy.
Smaller outside.
Exactly. You know, the only thing I will say about turntables, and I know Kato, you and I talked about this, is that with turntables you get to feel the music in a different way. You kind of you're experiencing the tempo like in your hands, and there's a certain feeling, you know. But that's a very personal thought process, you know. You know, if you have that same experience with a controller, heck yeah, more power to you. Okay, so that's that on Serato. Are there any questions before I move forward?
Yeah. So the way I have it set it up is like I have the red key point at the beginning of the song, and then the orange one at the end where the first piece is up.
Okay, yeah, like I said from the beginning, you know, it's on each DJ's preference. This setup here is what has helped me DJ a lot faster. When I first started DJing with a computer, what I would do is I would loop the first 8 beats right before the one, or so right before the verse, and then I would cancel out the loop when I was ready to mix into the next song. I noticed that took more time than actual, you know, than just having the cues ready. But it's on you. It's your preference. You know, if that has helped you, great. If you learn later on that this way makes it easier, hey, more power to you. You know, because at the end of the day, you know, we're here to learn how to get better and better every single time, right? Like that's the whole point. You know, like I used to do it one way before, and I upgraded my technique to a way that I feel works even better. You know. Oh, and the other thing that I cue. So if you look at this song, No Commas, the other thing that I cue is where to get started with my mixing. So I'm going to go ahead and play the song. Something that Brandon was saying is that you can kind of tell where the chorus is and the verse is by looking at the song. So as you can see here, like where I'm pointing at with the arrow, you could see that little that green section here. You could you by looking at that, you could kind of already tell that that's going to be the chorus. And the reason for that is because it repeats right over here.
So pretty much
As
when
well.
like in any part of any song with the chorus, that's when you can start mixing, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And then you can tell that this is the verse because the verse is very similar here to what it is over here. This over here looks like might be a bridge. You wouldn't know that until you actually play the song. But let's go ahead and skip ahead and let's see if this is a chorus.
Told him I'm the one for the job, no commas. And I'm serious, period, no commas. Wanna enjoy my family and my friends with no drama. Stack till I'm delirious, period. No, ain't no dollar sign tag on some peace of mind, Jack.
All right, that kind of sounded like a chorus to me. Let's play it over here to see if it's about the same.
I'm the one for the job, no commas.
There it is.
And I'm serious, period, no commas. Wanna enjoy my...
So you can tell that that's the chorus, right? So what I would do is I would, right in the beginning of the chorus, there's my one. I would cue my next cue point. And then now I know that at that cue point, I can start mixing in my next song. That makes sense? Now, I would do that for both that version of the chorus and then for... And the second part, and this is why. If I am... There's a couple of situations that you could get into. Number one, you might literally just miss mixing right here because you're either talking to someone or you're distracted or it just got away from you. You were looking for the next song and you couldn't find it on time, whatever. So literally you would just have to wait to the next chorus. And now that you queued it up, you know exactly where that's at. So that's one situation. Another situation is sometimes the song is a banger, so sometimes you want to let both verses play out because the song is a banger. If you cut it short, you're going to not give the crowd that vibe of, hey, this song's a banger. I cut it too short. I didn't let you guys dance to it. I didn't let you guys vibe to it the way it's expected to, That's the other option. The third option, which you will never really get into this option at the club, but you will get to it in private parties, is that sometimes people just want to hear the two verses of a song and they're content with that. Us as DJs, we try to remix as much as possible. That's kind of like what we enjoy doing. But sometimes your audience is not with it. Sometimes your audience is wanting to listen to the whole song. And the truth of the matter is who are you playing for? You're playing for the audience. You're putting on a show for your audience. You're not putting on a show for yourself, right? And that's a big subject matter for DJs when it comes to DJing, because a lot of DJs forget that. A lot of DJs forget that the whole concept of DJing is putting on a show for an audience. Now, look, if you want to be a hip hop DJ and that's what you want to be, then you need to find an audience that only wants to listen to hip hop. And that's fine. That's totally fine. But if you're being booked by someone and their expectation of you when they're booking you as a DJ is that you're going to be an open format DJ, and you go to that event and you play nothing but hip hop because that's the DJ you want to be, they're not going to hire you. You're going to burn bridges, and you're honestly going to suck. Like, bottom line, let's just face it. But it's totally cool to be selective. of your audience. Like if all you want to do is I want to be a hip hop DJ, I want to be a scratch DJ, and I don't want anything else, it's totally okay to go and look for that audience. Like there's nothing wrong with that, you know. But once again, if you're an open format DJ, just keep that in mind that you're playing for an audience. So that is that when it comes to mixing, selecting cues. What else? We talked about the settings. That is pretty much it when it comes to that. We're going to go ahead and jump into what we were going to talk about originally, which is your presence online. Okay, so there's a couple things that we are going to be touching on. The first thing is setting up your EPK. Okay, so if you can see here, I have a press kit. I'm going to show you my press kit. Which we will be creating for you guys as well. So this right here, a press kit, you got to have several press kits. You got to have your digital press kit right here that you can send to your, corporate contacts, which, you're going to make them very happy because you're going to have this on hand already. You're going to have it ready to go. And a lot of people love to see that. When it comes to being a DJ, the most important part, and I cannot stress this enough, is meeting the professional part of your career, okay? Because what happens when people get into DJing, excuse me, the thing that happens when people get into DJing is they think party mode, they think, going wild, wilding out, they think drinks and, alcohol, they think, girls, and they forget that it is a career that a lot of other people take seriously. And it's a fun career. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to take that away from anybody. Like, it is definitely fun. It's definitely, something that's going to put you in a spot where you're having lots and lots of fun and getting to know a lot of different people. The energy is always up, when you're DJing. Like there's no downtime. There's no downers when you're DJing. Like every single person that you are around when you're in DJ mode, they're there to have a good time, But a lot of people forget the professionalism behind it. So they get into DJing, they start going to parties, and they forget how am I going to get booked? Well, how are you going to get booked? The way you're going to get booked is by being really good and being extremely professional. Okay, so this is the press kit that we have put together for the company. Once again, we're going to be building it for you guys as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. It's very simple. One of the main things that I have always said to you guys is to have professional photos done, which is why one of the first things that you did here at Famous DJ Academy was go and get your headshots. That was, I'm really glad that you guys did that and that you guys were open to that. Because, I've told other DJs like, hey, you need to get headshots. And it's like, you guys paid $70. And they're like, oh, it's going to cost money.
They came out great though.
Yeah, and they don't want to,
Yeah.
and they don't want to. They don't want to. They don't want to spend that money. But if you look at this puts you at a different level. I don't know if you've seen mobile DJs that don't take their career seriously, and they advertise their DJ business, and it's a picture of them, behind the turntables at a house. It's like you could tell the difference between somebody who takes it seriously and somebody who doesn't. And the first part of that is a DJ that gets headshots. The other thing is properly picking out your name, your DJ name, which you guys have already done so. Like that's really, really important. You want to come up with something catchy. You know, you want to come up with something that's going to be that can be marketable. Okay, that is honestly the most important part when coming up with a name. It has to be marketable, and you know. And it has to be marketable in different markets. Okay, it can't just be a Latino name, because then you're like excluding every other ethnicity, every other market. So that's important. The next thing is coming up with I want to say kind of like your motto, like what makes you you. In this scenario, it's a very simple for me. I've always been a very, very big fan of positive energy. Like I just really like one of the things that I want to do when I'm at a gig is I want to make people happy. And then when people come up to me, I want to make sure that they're having a good time. I just want to share my positivity with people because I think that's beyond important. And I love making other people happy. Like that to me is like, one of the biggest blessings that anybody could have is just wanting to make other people happy. So that's why if you look at this and you look at my my DJ page on Instagram, it's very similar. I have my motto. I have like my little in my bio, I have my few words that describe me, and it's like, oh, I'm a positive person. Okay. So next, you always want to let people know where you've been at. Where have you performed? Where have you been? That's always going to help your audience or the contract that you're trying to get. You're going to let them know like that, hey, you've been places. You're not a rookie. You're not a newbie. And professional places have taken you seriously, so therefore they can take you seriously too. Okay. Next, you always want to have a bio, which I know that I've worked on a bio with both of you guys. You always want to have that done. I think that's very important. Telling people a story about yourself. And then this bio helps you. As you're putting your bio together, it also helps you get an idea of how you're going to communicate with people about your story, right? Because as you're DJing and you're like meeting different people, you always want to have a better answer than, oh, it was fun. Like, how'd you get into DJing? Oh, I thought it was fun. While that might be true,
they want to know more. Yeah.
They want to know more, and you got to have more, because then that takes you into a different level of like, hey, there's way more passion in your reason for getting into DJing other than, oh, it was fun. So creating a bio kind of allows you to have that internal knowledge of yourself as to why you got into DJing. Okay. Next, this year's social media and media links, I think it is beyond important that you always have your brand name established. In this scenario, I don't have my DJ Pac-Man name in my EPK. The reason for that is because Famous DJ Agency manages my my DJ time. So I just wanted to point everything towards Famous DJ Agency. But if you look at the at Famous DJ Agency, the website Famous DJ Agency, and if you go to any of those links, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, website, SoundCloud, Mixcloud, you will find that it is the same across all platforms. You will not find Famous DJ Agency _ anything for any of the platforms, and you want to try to make that happen as much as you possibly can, which is why, Tony, I asked you to separate your DJ Instagram. You know, I like, yeah, you had your personal, and I asked you, like, can you please create a professional one? You know, and I know, Kato, you already had your professional one. I know I asked you to, like, make some changes, but overall you already had a professional one. You know, but if you did want to get a personal one, I would really recommend it. That way you keep your professional image separate than your personal image.
That's like what Brandon said 2 weeks ago. Like, have it separate, but then, like, once people start, like, getting to know you more, they could start following your personal.
Yeah, of course, definitely. You know, because you wanna. That does not mean that you want to be a totally different person when you DJ than when you know, that's not what that means.
Like, oh, this is what he does beyond DJing.
Exactly. You know, like for example, for me, you'll notice that on my personal one, I'm just as positive and filled with positive energy as I am on my DJ one. Like, to me, it's like, you know, it's all combined. But you'll also notice that on my DJ one, I have thousands of followers. And on my personal one, it's just like that little niche of people that, you know, I want to spend my time with, you know, like the family members, I guess, you know, like, not that I don't want to spend my time with followers. I'm totally okay with that. It's just, you know, there's a difference between your professional branding than there is your personal social media platforms. Okay. And then, as you can see here, it's just, you know, just headshots. So NEPK, it's, you know, you want to keep it as simple as possible. You can also just choose to have like a one pager. You can have all this information all collapsed into one page. That's called a one pager. Excuse my cough. And that's totally okay. So that's when it comes down to an EPK, this is what that is. We'll go ahead and work on your guys's. You know, we'll do that today. And the other thing I wanted to touch base on was your website. So on your website, if you look at here, so djpacman.com. So this right here, you can consider an online EPK because it's going to have the same information that the EPK had, except it's going to give, you know, your followers a little bit more interaction with you as an artist. So for example, here I have a video, you know, here's my biography, you know, letting people know about me. Here's, as events come, you know, back, I'll go ahead and fill this out, you know, have the events here. You know, I have a newsletter. If people want to get to know me on a personal level, they can subscribe to my newsletter, and I'll go ahead and send them, you know, a weekly newsletter. Same thing with my social media. You know, here it is. It's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You know, so basically your website creates your online EPK, and then it allows your followers, you know, when they go to your website, or new people who go to your website, if they want to book you because they like what they see, then they can go ahead and fill out a contact form, and that goes to whoever your booking manager is, and they'll book you guys for that event. Okay. So that's the website. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about is just making sure that you have all of this across the board, which I know I touched on earlier. If you go to the pages that I own, you can go ahead and see that, you know, DJ Pacman, if you look up here on the address bar, it's DJ Pacman. That's my handle, and you'll find that across the board. You'll find that on Facebook. You'll find that on Instagram. You'll find that, you know, anywhere you look, that's what you will find. So that's pretty much it for branding your name. Are there any questions that you guys have before? Hey,
What?
you've been waiting, huh?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So we will definitely talk about that, and the reason being, I wanted to actually touch on that. So I'm glad you brought it up. If you look here on gallery, so when it comes to your photos on Instagram, you always want to make sure that you have a clean look. So the reason I asked you guys to not really post anything yet is because I wanted to make sure that we touched on this first. As you're posting, it's totally cool to post pictures as much as you want. Like, I don't think there's any problem with that. But what you post and how you post it, that is super important, okay? You don't want to just post for the heck of posting, right? You want to make sure that it has a story, that it's revolving around something, and that it's going to, every single post has to have a reason for your branding, right? So, for example, here it is. My little bio for It's DJ Pagman. If you look up here, this is good vibes, great energy. So I try to make my pictures give that off every time I post one. Okay. So I try to give good vibes and great energy. So I try to give literally, as I'm even when I post pictures with people, I try to make sure that I represent that bio as much as I possibly can. Okay. So now that you have headshots, we're gonna go ahead and work on which pictures are the ones to post and how to caption them. Once again, doesn't matter how much you post, as long as you're posting something that's going to represent you and your brand and your artist name. Okay, does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay, so that's gonna go ahead and conclude class for today. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording. But we are gonna get into a couple of other things after I stop the recording, okay? So I'll do that now. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will get back to you next week.